Let's get in somebody we love talking to during such instances. Laxmi Iyer, CEO Investments and Strategy at Kotak Alternate Asset Managers, joins us right in the studio to talk about her thoughts on what is usually a big day. Could today be a big news-making day, Laxmi, from the Reserve Bank Governor or the MPC?
I'm not too sure, Niraj, if it's going to be a big news-making day. Yeah, of course, there are breaking news as far as commodity prices, specifically crude, which is concerned. And that can obviously be a little bit of a bummer when you are at the D-Day in terms of announcing your policy and the first policy of the financial year, where you will, probably give expectations on the inflation trajectory, which is looking good so far, so far from India. In fact, I tweeted also this morning that India is an oasis in the desert as far as inflation is concerned. But will India want to precede the Fed as far as rate action is concerned? Looks very unlikely. Yeah. So I'm not too sure if it's going to be like anything out of the whack. If at all, things are looking a little bit spooky. From the previous policy to now, I think they're about, 15–16% up on crude oil prices. Larger scheme of things may not be a big worrisome factor, but if you look at the pure sentiment, I think, soft commodity prices are up, tomato, onion, all these prices are also, inching upwards, and it's the summer time of the year.
And growth isn't looking bad.
Yeah, and growth isn't looking bad. So if you have that kind of Sone pe suhaga kind of moments, then why would any central banker want to ease rates?
Yeah.
Not really necessary to just gratify the markets, very unlikely.
So there is no real case for a rate cut. Anyway, we weren't penciling, I think nobody was penciling in one right now. The question is whether they will act before the Fed. The Fed doesn't seem clear what they're going to do, so we'll leave that aside. What is the commentary that you're looking out from? Apart, of course, the questions that Governor Das will be fielding on what he's doing with currency derivative trade, and we'll come to that. But what is the commentary that you're looking out for in terms of economic growth outlook as well as inflation?
So growth seems to be on a reasonable footing. I think that can continue. I don't think there's going to be any change on that front. Inflation also, if you see, just after the policy, a week later, we will have the inflation numbers. In all probability, that print could be sub 5%. And if you look at the next quarter, which is the July to August quarter, there could be a brief period where the print could be even sub 4%. So I think, given
why is that? It's a base effect.
Yeah, it's all of that put together. So I think that part may not be, such a big that big an issue. But we've also seen that while domestic factors do hog center stage, it's also important not to ignore what's happening globally. And in some sense, Fed is behaving like Laapata ladies. I mean, they're kind of talking about 4 and 5 rate cuts in terms of markets expectation, now down to maybe 2 or, I don't know, maybe none. You don't know?
So, Laapata ladies is the term of the day coined by Laxmi Iyer, like fabulous. So, Fed is acting like Laapata ladies. There's no reason why the RBI should follow these Laapata ladies. So, then let's look at our own sort of traction and our own sort of timeline. When do you think that we can pencil in a rate cut, if at all?
So today the markets may be looking out for some sort of a guidance in terms of when that could happen, but looks like the indications could be still non-committal because there's so many things happening across. And as I said, when you have growth on a strong footing, there is no real necessity to guide the markets towards a rate cut. And look at the appetite for government bonds, pretty strong.
Yeah, that's true. Just wondering, Laxmi, on the growth front, the belief at the start of 2024 for many quarters was that will the RBI need to step in to support growth. Now, without that happening, the PMI numbers, etc., indicating that growth is strong, not just in India, picking up across the world as well. Could that be a reason for delayed rate cuts for the rest of the year as well?
Why not? Is Indian growth solely dependent on rate cuts? Probably not. It could be a small catalyst to probably nudge that growth. But if you look at, I mean, we've had Q4 is obviously results are underway, Q3 just went by, and the earnings were not so bad. I mean, I'm talking about the broader thing. Of course, there were sectors which were a little bit in the down. So I think, is that the sole reason that if there is no rate cut, will growth really suffer? Probably not. But yeah, it's a feel-good factor. You would love to see your EMI costs going down. All of that is not happening right now.
Yep.
But I think that gratification will need to wait.
Just your take on the currency derivative rules back and forth. Now, that timeline has been pushed from April 5th. It had to kick in today to May 3rd. After a lot of concern from traders, etc., does this push to May 3rd give some reprieve? What do you make of the flip-flop in this entire case as far as the RBI's actions and communications are concerned?
No, it does give some respite, no doubt about it. And also the fact that, if there is a larger, I would say investor interest at play, it just makes sense to probably take into cognizance all of those before you probably crystallize what you really want to do. So that seems to be the way. And yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair practice which the regulator has actually done.
But so it's just postponing the death knell of this entire category by a few weeks.
Well, we don't know it's death knell or otherwise, but...
you think it will survive if the volumes come down, the estimates volumes will come down?
See, everything is relative, every time a regulation comes in, there are, entities or skeptics who end up calling doomsday for the industry, whether it is, exit load going, entry load going away from mutual funds, or lock-ins coming, or, exit loads coming in for liquid funds. I think all of that, we've been there, done that. It's par for the course. Every regulatory change takes its time to acclimatize. So it's just about acclimatization. So yes, I'm not saying that there will be no impact, but yeah, I mean, whoever said that regulations cannot have an impact.
Laxmi, one word on what happens if indeed the inflation numbers, let's say crude is, I'm kind of sticking back to inflation. Let's say crude uptake is transitory and it kind of cools off as well, but growth numbers at the same point of time continue to look strong. You think the bent should be towards cutting rates if inflation allows it, simply because one school of thought is, why should we be happy with 6.5, 7? Why shouldn't we gun for more?
That thought process is not completely incorrect, but I would just say that if the globe is not really supportive and we are now very well perched, as far as the foreign exchange reserves are concerned, we were at $640 billion September 2021. We're almost there at the same levels. Why would you want to really distort the apple cart when things are going good? So that's I think, why would anyone want to kill the hen that lays the golden egg? So if things are going good, you're in a golden phase as far as growth is concerned, and just by cutting rates, is that going to accentuate additional, what's the delta? Yeah. I think that's the way one should really be thinking as a policymaker.
I think one realization also has been the relatively high tolerance to higher interest rates in terms of economic growth, right? That has now been seen over the last several quarters, that it's not like there's been a big hamper to growth. So you're right. If Governor Das today and the policy committee is thinking that why should we rush on cutting rates, if at all? Yeah.
Yeah, great. Laxmi Iyer, thanks for putting all of this into perspective for us. A lot of ammo to hear the RBI governor's speech and see what comes out of it. And look forward to have you the next time.
Every time policy comes in, Laxmi, you have to come in the morning. It's just fantastic.
We're just taking you for granted right now.
No, I'm just trying to put in pressure. No.
Yeah, we are good at that.
We'd love to have you.
Awesome,
It's fabulous
perfect.
to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Laxmi.
Yeah.